my name is Robert Freeman. I'm the founder and I'm the executive director of the Global Uplift Project. And you can see the title there, A Simple Plan to Change the World That's Working Today. By the time we're done, I want you to hold my feet to the fire and let's ask this question. Does this look like this is actually working? And could it, in fact, change the world? Let me get into it. That's the first project I ever built. It's in Naramoru, Kenya. It's a classroom. I was a teacher at Los Altos High School. My kids were complaining about how bad the world was. And I said to them, well, what are you guys going to do about it? And they very fairly said, well, Mr. Freeman, we're teenagers. What can we do? And without thinking about it, I said, I bet if each of you did just a little bit, I bet it would rock the world. Well, we didn't know what that meant. It sounds like something you could put on a bumper sticker and it might have just as much depth. But everybody was intrigued. And so in the spring of 2007, I challenged everybody in the school, big assembly in the big gym. I said, if you guys will all put in $1, I will get a classroom built for you in Africa. You never heard 1,770 teenagers be so quiet. Well, we went ahead and did it. The school had 1,770 kids. They put in $1,851. And I was like, OMG, now I got to get a classroom built in Africa. Well, our school, 1851, wasn't enough, so I hustled around to four other schools, Gunn High School in Palo Alto, where my kids were going to school, St. Francis and Mountain View. 5 schools altogether. We raised $9,000 from 9,000 teenagers, and that's the classroom we built. People thought it was the Taj Mahal, and to them it was. There it is, cut stone on a concrete foundation, sheet metal roof. It'll be there for 50 years. And the miracle was nobody was into it for more than $1. And that became the model. And this is the essential idea. Everybody gives just a little bit, and we use all of that money, I'm going to come back to that, to help the poorest people in the world help themselves. That's the whole model. Let me go on. What have we done with this? Since that summer in 2007, we have completed as of this morning, 592 projects in 26 developing world countries. I mean, the poorest countries in the world. They're all focused on education, low-cost infrastructure for education, classrooms, science labs, libraries, latrines. We do a lot of playgrounds, actually. Whatever it takes to make the educational facility more effective. Over their lives, these projects will help about 3.7 million of the world's poorest people have just a slightly better chance in life. These are some projects we've done just for clubs, Rotary clubs in the Bay Area. That Kenya slide, that's a library we built in the Masai Mara in Kenya. We did that for Walnut Creek Rotary. On the top right there's a classroom we built in Nicaragua for 3 Santa Cruz clubs, Santa Cruz Rotary, Santa Cruz Sunshine Rotary, and Soquel Rotary. The one on the lower left there is a vocational center we built in Tanzania. We do a lot of work in all these countries, by the way. Let's see, Belmont Rotary, Palo Alto Rotary, Livermore Rotary, San Ramon Rotary. And on the lower right, remember the Aceh tsunami in Indonesia? Wiped out everything. That's a classroom we rebuilt for the kids there. That was funded by Los Altos Rotary. Let me keep going here. This is super important. I said at the beginning, and we use all of that money to help the poorest people in the world help themselves. I want you to look at that under uses in the second category there. It says operations, 51,000 and change. That's what it cost to run the business last year. That's the website, the literature, the telephones, the direct mail, software subscriptions, paying the CPA. That's it, 51,000. But now go up to the sources, see foundations. I've gone out to private foundations and raised money to cover our operating expenses, explicitly on the proviso that they will cover our operating expenses. And the result is, as long as that foundation number is larger than the operations number, every dollar anybody donates goes into their project because somebody else is covering the overhead. We don't know anybody else that can claim and demonstrate this. Is it working? Well, that's what it looks like in the last 18 years. I retired from teaching in 2016, right here. And you can see what happens when you can devote your full energies to a project. What about this year's project? We're uplifting the scientific capacity of the entire nation of Uganda. I know that sounds almost psychotically ambitious, but it's actually not. We're doing it by installing 50 of our science labs in a box at 50 under-resourced high schools throughout the country. We have the deep endorsement of all of the Rotary International within Uganda. Science lab in a box, it's a metaphorical box. It's all the equipment, the supplies, the instruments, and the curriculum you need to be able to do world-class laboratory work in biology, chemistry, and physics. There's about 20 of them installed in 4 countries around the world. And here's the thing that really triggered this idea for us. We installed one in Uganda about a year and a half ago, and within 6 months, their scores on nationally normed science exams, SAT equivalents, were up 80%. And you can understand why. It's very hard to learn the abstractions of science from dog-eared textbooks and, tired teachers on a blackboard with chalk. I mean, and that's what it is. But when the kids can actually get their hands on the experiments, it blows their minds. Let's keep going. Here's what it is. In phase 1, which we're in right now, we'll install 17 slabs. And as you see, it has the support of Rotary International. In phase 2, we're going out to the big tech companies, the Apples, the Metas, the Twitters, the Googles, and asking for their help to do another 33. Altogether, we'll do 50 of these slabs. This is the metric, and this is mind-blowing. If we can raise the GDP of the economy by 1/1000th of 1%, in 10 years, it pays for itself 200 times over. One slab costs $3,000. Oh, by the way, the local people in Uganda say, we'll way more than do 1/1000th of 1%. We can do 5/1000ths of a percent because scientific talent is so scarce in this country. If you do 5/1000ths of 1%, we've all passed 4th grade arithmetic, that 200 times over becomes 1,000 times over. The program pays for itself 1,000 times over if we meet what they say they can do. This is the philosophical foundation of the whole thing. Why science? Why pick science to try to uplift the developing world? If you live in a pre-scientific society, how do you know what you know? The philosophers call this epistemology. How do you know what you know? Well, you've got superstition, you've got tradition, you've got folklore, you've got mythology, you've got gossip, you've got fairy tales, you've got magic. That's how you know what you know. Now, notice the difference between a scientific society. How do you know what you know? Observation, measurement, analysis, hypothesis, experiment. Which do you think is a more effective epistemology? Well, it's obvious which one it is. The Western world has adopted science, and that's why its growth is not only higher, but growing at a higher rate, which you can see in the upper slide. This is the essential thing we're doing. We're trying to change the mindset of an entire developing world nation. Now, why is this so exciting? Because working at a national level gives us a lot more capacity than simply working at an individual village level, which is what most projects work like. When we're finished with Uganda, there are 53 other nations in Africa that we will take this project to. And Rotary International is uniquely situated to be able to lead this effort. We will lift more people more decisively in their intellectual capacity in a shorter period of time than any other project ever. Again, I know this sounds like hyperbole, but I don't think it is. Putting it all together, it is within our reach. It is within our reach right now to materially improve the human condition by using these kinds of simple, inexpensive, proven projects and tools like we're working on today.